Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP in the podcast studio with KD. Kathy Davidson's here.
What's up? How are you?
Just living the dream. Hey, thanks for the Diet
You're
Coke.
welcome. Can we just cheers?
It's been
Wait,
it's been a week.
Whoa. You show up.
No.
This is what drives me nuts.
Asked you if you wanted one. You said
No,
no, we've got some here.
What's this?
I was in a meeting. Yeah, but I have that too. But I was in a meeting.
I did. In fairness, I was surprised you didn't bring him one. Yeah.
It's like,
that makes me feel bad.
I wonder what Nate would want.
Well, I know you want Coke Zero, but I
Well,
didn't know
you
if you
did
like
say
a can better.
you said we had some
Yes.
here.
And then I said, hey, I'm about to order Speak Now, a Forever Holder Piece. And then 10 minutes
Speak
later.
Now, Taylor's version. Anyway,
Wait, what did you say under your breath?
Speak Now, Taylor's version. I'm a Swiftie.
Dude, I went and saw the.
Oh wow! Even with the satanic worship at the. No, that's such a. I'm kidding, guys. Don't email me, man. Everybody, don't email me.
Man, there
okay,
was a
don't
clip
email
we
me.
have.
This is a hot take. I get it. I didn't see it. I don't know. I can't speak to it. Don't email me.
There's a clip where you mentioned Taylor Swift. And
What?
You were just kidding about that?
I haven't seen it, so I
Oh,
can't say.
I saw it this weekend.
Oh, and you would say it
Is there
was.
satanic worship?
I would not probably say everyone should go see it.
Wow.
Her
But you
latest
did.
Stuff,
That's
no,
you're
listen.
hypocritical.
No, I am not hypocritical.
That is hypocritical to go and see it and then say,
Listen,
I
got
got
drunk.
I didn't know what it was.
now that
Not
I
everyone should get drunk.
I'm just saying, I haven't listened to her latest stuff, and there's a lot of cursing and
Yeah, she's
songs
changed a
about
little
karma, and it makes me sad. But honestly, she's a great entertainer.
I kid you not, this week was probably the hardest week of my life.
Because you couldn't drink Coke Zero?
Yes, I'm at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
I
that
order
was-
water. I go get pizza yesterday. I'm drinking sweet tea, which I don't like. And then my mother-in-law comes over and she brings
Natalie
over
told me that.
like a 12-pack of Coke Zero,
That's so
like
sweet.
to like bless
That's
me.
hilarious. No, I told her to.
And
I told her.
And I really was like, gosh, I don't think it matters.
Matt
And
picked
then
me up a big
Did
Diet
did
Coke
anybody
with
drink
my
one?
donuts.
Real talk.
I thought he got me a tea.
She didn't.
No,
Wait,
listen,
she didn't. She goes.
Listen,
She
I'm
goes.
trying to tell y'all the story. So it's Sunday morning. We're getting our donuts. I normally get Diet Coke.
You
I
better
thought
not
he got
have
me
it.
tea.
You better
I
not.
took a tiny sip.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
know. Listen.
Man.
Wow.
Let me finish the story.
2 more
and
weeks.
I spat it back in.
2 more weeks.
You spat it-
it back in.
You spat it back. Jesus hung there on the cross.
And you're saying this is our.
He said, "When you fast," and you guys are like, "I can't even go without diet." What
On
do you,
the
what do you
Sabbath, let
fast
alone.
from? Have you ever fasted from food?
Yes. But so I preached this message on fasting like
And so you
long
decided
time
you
ago.
should try it
Oh
once.
my goodness!
well, so, and all week I'm like, I need to fast. I
Shut
need to
up.
fast. And then it was Friday morning, and I'm like, gosh, I guess I have to fast today.
Oh my!
So,
Oh my!
and it was really meaningful.
I will say the experiment worked. I feel like it was good
Yeah.
to go without it, and it makes me want to fast more often. So
Okay.
I'm
Well,
setting up
so-
like a rhythm of that more in my life.
All right. Well, they're going to think that this episode's on
Yeah.
Taylor Swift and fasting, and
Okay,
it's
yeah,
not.
it's not.
I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Would you rather talk to Taylor Swift or
No.
this person?
I don't want you coming in like that because you've been talking all that noise.
Well, here's the deal.
All the
Here's
noise.
the deal.
You got your headphones on. You
He's-
got your microphone.
I know he's nervous.
No. I want to bring on KB. KB is here with us today virtually.
I'm not rap battling anybody. Sorry, brother.
No.
I battle for souls.
There
okay?
we go. See, there we
Don't
go.
battle.
There we go.
That's really disappointing.
I know.
How are you? What's going on?
I'm well.
Where-
Man. Yeah,
where-
I'm here in Tampa. Right now. I'm actually at home, getting some good time with wifey and the children, and just happy to be off the road and down with God's people. So it's a kind of restorative, refreshing season right now.
Are you involved in a church in Tampa?
I do. I'm actually I've been going to a small church in Tampa, Florida for almost 11 years now.
Is that like, are you any part of the staff there? Y'all serve, or what does that look like for you guys?
Up until the last about year and a half, 2 years, I was a part of the preaching team, and I've always led a small group. But I've been more of a kind of just supporter from the audience in the last couple years, and have served a lot of other churches. But yeah, that's kind of where I've been shaped and then discipled. Kind of was brought into ministry in a more organized way. Was at the church that I attend now. So
I love that, man. I love that. And do you guys have children?
yeah, I got three. I got a little girl named Nala
Come
and
on.
two boys, Keanu and KBJ.
I love it, bro. How old?
9, 7, and 3.
All right, you're in the thick of it.
Yep.
How old are yours?
Like around the same age.
Yeah,
Eight,
that's what I was
8, 5,
thinking.
3, and 8 months.
I got you. We're 16, 14, and 11. So that driver's
29.
license changes the game.
Nice.
Gosh, yes.
How old
that's
are
wild.
yours?
I'm 29.
No, how old are your children?
Oh, 2 and a month.
He's just so relieved right now, KB. He's
That
so
you're not making him rap battle?
relieved because I mean,
He's
Oh,
been,
did you really? Is this
No.
for real? Like,
No.
This
I-
is all. They're
It
just.
is.
he
It
loves
is.
he loves rap. I can't rap, and he likes to rap battle with me, and it's always embarrassing.
we do rap
so
battles
y'all rap battle
every
each other.
every now and then. So we thought you
Well,
had
why
heard.
don't y'all do a rap battle for us now?
Well, we thought
That's
we
right.
thought
No!
we thought you had heard about. That's why we thought oh, he's heard
Clearly.
about
How
the
good of a
hip hop
rapper
skills, and
Nate
so he's
is.
trying to come in and interrupt the game. And that's
I mean, it's
you know
Lecrae, KB, Tadashi, Nate Hilgenkamp.
NF.
all in the same. all in the same-
Eminem, he's been calling, and anyways, it's fine. It's no
Yeah.
big deal. So,
They're just kidding.
what's the? Well, you said you're great. You're happy to get off the road, and so like we've had a few different artists on here in the past, and I know that's a challenge. So like, say more about that. Like, what's the hardest part about being on the road? What's the best part about being on the road? What's the best part about being off the road?
I think the hardest part is being away from home. I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I've been probably like 15 years in. So that starts to weigh in on your body, the flights and touring and the difficulty with taking care of yourself while you're out. You're serving constantly. So there's the being away from home, which is the place where that's designed for you to rest and restore, and you're away from that place, and your body's taking the blows of being all over the place, different time zones, and eating what's available after a show. It just, from a health standpoint, weighs you down. And then there's obviously the communal aspects. I've decided to stay in my city from the beginning. I never moved to the places where your career is supposed to, where you should situate yourself if you're looking to grow your career, like in Atlanta or Nashville.
Yeah.
I have decided that I will just fly to those places and I'll fly home.
Yeah.
And what that means is that my main identity is with the people who are in my community. That's when my brothers and my sisters are my world. And to miss weddings and disciple someone and not be able to make their baptism, dealing with conflicts where you got to leave tomorrow morning, not able to be there with folks as they might be celebrating or suffering, it also takes a toll on you as well. So the being away from where my life is very, very challenging. But that's the sacrifice that I have made for many, many years. And I've just reminded myself that this is a part of what it means for me to be faithful with the gifts God has given me and the call that he's putting on my life for this season.
Yeah.
So that's good. I think that's hard, but I think what's beautiful is we've gotten to impact people's lives all over the world, not just through the music, but through our podcast, Southside Rabbi. I've also written a book here recently, Dangerous Jesus.
Mm.
And I've gotten a lot of opportunities to be with people globally that I would not have gotten had I stayed where I am. This is a part of what God has laid out for me, and I've enjoyed a lot of that.
Yeah.
So the seasons where I am home, though, and which I'm doing more and more of now. In fact, I'm more. This year was the most I've ever been home,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to increase that next year and increase that even more the following as I sort of land my music stuff. As I kind of soon will be transitioning out of just as the artist piece. I'll be doing the other things, but I think that's just kind of the trajectory the Lord has me on. But it's like all of life. It's the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got like 10 questions from that. But I want to go back before we move on. So just Dangerous Jesus. I want to say that a lot of podcasts will put the book and stuff on the back end, and I want to say it right here. So tell me why should, who did you write that book to?
I wrote Dangerous Jesus to primarily three audiences. There's one audience that's filled with a bunch of people who are deconverting, that are leaving the church largely because of people in the church, and the way they've seen them behave over the last 6 to 7 years, the way we have handled the issues of our day as people claiming to be the people of God. Has been a grand repellent for a lot of people, and the studies are irrefutable of people talking about why they have so struggled to appreciate who Jesus is, because the ways in which they have told Jesus, the ways that they have been taught Jesus have been absolutely inconsistent with how the Bible displays who Jesus is. So a lot of people just packed up shop and went somewhere else. They've went New Age and secularism and so on and so forth. So I wrote to that audience. I also wrote to an audience of people who have never had any kind of like background for Christianity. So they're not like, they don't, it's like mere Christianity. I thought I was trying to channel C.S. Lewis in my writing, that if you had never met Jesus before, what would be a good book I can put in your hands that you can out the gate understand who he is and have your life transformed by it as a result. So I wrote to that was my secondary audience. And then lastly, I'm writing to people like me who have not wavered. Like our love for Jesus is as bright as it's ever been, but our love for the church is under attack. Okay, and understanding who Jesus is in a culture, a church culture that is very, very big on a lot of things that Jesus is not, makes a difficult place for us. When we're talking about justice, talking about issues of racial reconciliation, talking about issues of immigration, and we're talking about what it means to love and serve our neighbors, what it means to be holy. All of these these are like universal, and the gravity of the weight of a Mack truck for us. These issues are dear to who we perceive ourselves to be, and those things have been under attack as well. And we've been finding ourselves like nomads. Where do we serve? Where do we commit? Where is our voice heard? I want to see those people as well and say, you're not crazy. You're not alone. And here's a book of resources to not only reinvigorate your love for the Lord Jesus, but to keep you in holding on to Jesus's vision of his church. Yeah. So those are the three groups.
So in the third group, why do you think that the church is why do you think there's some love lost for the church today? And so here's my heart behind the question, is like those issues of injustice, issues of prejudice, issues, the border, all of these things, these are not new issues. And so why is it today that we would begin to feel like our love for the church is challenged, when in reality we're talking about a lot of those issues for the first time? And so like there was this season in the past where people didn't question the church, and yet all of those things are kind of underneath the surface, and now they're at the surface, and it seems like there is a lack of trust, questioning, deconstruction, deconverting. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that is because one, we didn't realize that we all don't mean the same things when we say that we love God, and we understand that God has, as the psalmist says, established his throne on justice. We talk about when we all say that God is a God of justice, we don't all mean the same thing. And we didn't know that. We were worshiping together, we were serving together, and there were occasions that happened. I remember back probably like 7 years ago, when we kind of realized that talking about racial reconciliation wholesale in evangelical circles was going to be a problem, that we were all marching for the right for life for those in the womb, the unborn. We were marching for maintaining a sense of a biblical sexual ethic. We were marching for submitting to churches. We were and trusting local churches, and we were marching for all the same things. And then there was a group of individuals that said, let's also march for police reform. And it was like, whoa, hold on a second. We aren't a people that believe that the gospel is concerned about societal injustices. But it was like, hold up. We were all involved in a bunch of societal injustices just on these other issues last week. What's unique about this issue? And then once you begin to unfurl the conversation, you realize that historically speaking, the Church of Jesus Christ in America has not done very well when it comes to equality and fighting for justice among those who are often outside of it. We just haven't done well with that. That's not our reputation.
Yeah,
Our reputation.
Say that last part again. I don't want to miss that. Just the last sentence. My mind's digesting what you're saying.
I said that we historically have not done well wholesale as people who fight for justice for the folks who find themselves outside of it. So those who are without resource or without partnership or without power, we as a community have often been a reflection of whatever's happening in the culture. So if the culture is segregated, we're segregated. No. If the culture is making a big deal about making sure that people, that we make laws that stop companies from paying people well, that we are, doing things in the culture we are reflecting things in the culture that stop us from having to actually care about folks and sacrifice for folks and give our lives for those who can't, help or serve themselves. If that's what's happening in the culture, often the church has just reflected that. Timothy Keller has an excellent book called Generous Justice. And through that book, he talks about the ways in which the church has not been a thermostat for the culture, but it's been a thermometer. Yeah. Where folks are, that's where we are. Yeah. However, we also have research now. There's folks like Pew that exists that allow us to see exactly how do we feel as those who embrace the authority of Scripture, embrace the orthodoxy that has been passed down to us by the church fathers. Those kind of people, what do they feel in relationship to the general public about certain issues? The data is clear. We oftentimes are if not more inclined to stay segregated in our silos, racially, politically. We also are more inclined than the general public. Sometimes I talk about this in the book, to be hostile towards helping people who are looking for asylum from other countries. That you will find in our communities that there would be a more of a hostility there than even outside. Why is this happening? Okay. We are God's people. How do we get there? And I think that to my first point, is that we actually found that we actually weren't as biblical as we thought we were. And we weren't all saying the same things even though we thought we were. And then I think the other big thing is just simple spiritual abuse. Many spiritual leaders, they get the title that gives them the credential to then speak into our lives, which God has instituted the church for that purpose. But we are also swimming in a heavily narcissistic culture. We are swimming in a culture that is dependent on people liking us and following us and growing our bottom line. I am what I call a redemptive capitalist. I'm not against capitalism, but the truth of the matter is many of our communities are ran like a capitalist institution that is trying to turn a profit. Those things create a context for people to be abused, for people to be discarded, for folks to find themselves trying to make sense of the Bible calling them to submit somewhere, but that place that they are submitting at is very thorny in ways that aren't typical to a community. No community is going to be perfect. We're all broken. Broken people get together. They have sharp edges. We will cut each other. Yeah. But I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about wielding scripture, wielding a position to injure people for personal gain.
Yeah.
That, my friends, is also something that is driving folks away. We need more humility, more spiritual discipline, more of a kind of return to a way that is marked by serving people again, not just gathering people that can serve the vision of whatever the pastor is.
Yeah. The book is Dangerous Jesus. It's available everywhere books are sold. We are talking with KB. KB, is your website, His Glory Alone. What is your website? Like if I'm going to...
You can go to whoiskb.com.
Whoiskb.com.
Yeah.
So there, you said a lot of things there. I mean, again, my questions are stacking up beyond our time constraint. But you talked about how the church has missed it on in offering justice to those who are outside of justice. But that can't be true, right? Because, I mean, the church historically has cared for the poor. The church has historically cared for the marginalized. So is it something more narrower than that? Like, is it specifically as it pertains to race? And then the other thing you said there towards the end when you were talking about spiritual abuse and pastors, you led to something that I was thinking about is the issue is money, right? I mean, we are motivated by money. Where there's money, there's corruption. Money is a root of all kinds of evil. Whoever loves it never has enough. It will sprout wings and fly off. And so, is it that simple? And if it is that simple, then are we not part of the problem? By we, I mean you and I, in that, like, you just published a book, right? And that's I remember when I published for the first time, I thought, oh man, as a Christian publisher, this is going to be amazing. All they care about is people knowing the gospel. And then I realized, like, no, these are employees. Some of them are Christian, and they care about, bottom lines and P&L and profit and loss and, those kinds of things. And that the publishing industry in general can be about that. Now, there's really good actors in there too. I don't mean to overgeneralize here, but like, am I close? Am I making sense?
So what I would say is, and just to go back to what I said, that I think that I use that phrase on purpose. I use the word well, that the church hasn't historically done well with the fight for justice. That doesn't mean that the church hasn't done it at all. That doesn't mean that you won't find, the whole Christianity, it can be credited, especially in the medieval age, for being the ones that brought us the concept of the hospital, the orphanage, another very much Christian, kind of inspired idea that comes from our theology around adoption and caring for orphan and widows. James said that your religion is in vain. True religion is taking care of orphans and widows, i.e. the vulnerable. So it doesn't mean that you won't find places where the church has absolutely done, and there are churches all over the nation and the world, for that matter,
Mhm.
that are involved in what I am just calling neighborly love. Okay, but what I was referring to is how well has the American church done with this idea of loving neighbor outside of any kind of, we can point to these moments where you can see it, but my question is that what we're known for, right? Jesus says that his disciples are marked by love, right? They're marked by love, starting with one another. Can we say that the church in America has historically shown itself to be this institution that is marked by the essentiality of the Christian faith?
You said with the first part of that question, the church in general, or the church in
The
history, or the
Amer-
church today?
I'm thinking about the church historically here in America, because that's
Yeah.
primarily the place. I mean, obviously, by God's grace, we've gotten the opportunity to have some global impact. But I'm largely serving in North America,
Yeah.
and I am thinking about the ways in which we spend our money. Let's just start with the budget of our church.
Yeah.
If Jesus could do a survey,
Hmm.
okay, if Jesus could do a audit, okay, a heavenly IRS
Yeah.
of how we have allocated our funds,
Yeah.
does that allocation show a heart of generosity? Does it show a heart of that we one of the ways that I put it is that we take as good, if not better, care of the widow in our church as we do the guest speaker that came on Sunday?
Yeah.
Is that what our budget would say if we were able to lay that thing out? Because where your treasure is,
Your
that's
heart
where
will
your
be also.
priority is as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
So what I'm saying, so if we just start with that, then we look at it's
Why would you say?
it's
Here's what I would say there, just to answer
yeah,
that question. I hope so.
yeah,
I hope so. I mean, I hope churches take care of the widow much better than the guest speaker on Sunday. And I think the
yeah,
problem when we talk about the church is our ecclesiology is all going to be informed by our experience and the tradition that we grew up in. And there's people who are listening that grew up in Pentecostal, prosperity gospel,
right,
denominations, Lutheran, Episcopalian, Methodist, Presbyterian, non-denominational. And so that's what's crazy or what's difficult, I'll say, when we say church, everybody sees that word through the lens of what they've experienced. And I hope, I grew up, I came, I don't know, I should have told you this early on, but I came from Watermark. So I moved here from Watermark 5 years ago. So I pastored Watermark in Dallas, Texas. I know you're familiar with it, the porch there and whatnot. And so I feel like, and I grew up Catholic school for 9 years and then no church in college, but I feel like I've experienced a really healthy view of church. But I've also, I've taken it on the chin. I remember the first time we brought in flat screen TVs. I mean, that was people were like, hey, there's people starving, and you guys have flat screens and smoke machines and lasers and lights, and shame on you. And now, and this is the only kind of TV there is. But that was a big deal. And so it is. I mean, I think we do have to pray and fast and seek the Lord on all of those decisions. And yeah, there better not be any of our members who are struggling to eat or going without a home. And that's why I say to Harris Creek now, we're in Waco now, I say as long as one of us has an empty bedroom, there will never be someone here without a place to stay. As long as one of us has a loaf of bread, there will be no one here who's hungry. And so that's what I see in Acts 2. That's what I see in the New Testament church. And has the church lost its way along the path? It absolutely has. And what I hope, in Dangerous Jesus, and in full transparency, I haven't read it yet. I'm not a big reader, but I can't wait to grab the audiobook. I hope there is that remnants of hope, because where there's lots of bad actors and lots of bad churches and lots of stories of things gone wrong, there's also a remnant of faithful followers of Jesus who
Absolutely.
love his bride and who are operating for his glory alone. And that's not to
Yeah.
say, as with me, and I'm sure with you, we have moments where our pride overwhelms, or we get off the stage and say, man, how did I do, and what did they think, and did they like me? But I hope for the most part it's the thrust of our lives, both yours and mine and my friends here, is, man, are we about God's glory?
For sure, and I think and that's well said, and I agree with that. I think that what I am trying to do with my life, this is what I've given myself to for since I trusted Jesus at 16. I've given myself to be a person that helps to clarify people's vision of God. Who is this God that we serve? What is he like? What does he want? How does he meet with us? Where is he providing for us? How do we sort of get his presence in our lives and churches, so on and so forth? That's what I give myself to. And it is, and I think one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking, and I don't know if you got the chance to spend any time with some of the data that's coming out, on the current state of affairs with churches around America.
Sure.
For every, I think it's for every one person that converts, three are leaving and never coming back.
Yeah.
1 million Gen Zers are walking away from Jesus every single year. And there is after 2020, almost all of the progress we made as a community, as a church in America, because I mean, if you've read American history, the racial divide has been ubiquitous from the beginning, and the church oftentimes was. I'm a Southern Baptist, brother. You know what I'm saying? We know why the Southern Baptist Convention was started as a reaction, not because somebody wasn't doctrinally sound in the North about the deity of Christ or the purpose of the church or the virgin birth. It wasn't the orthodoxy. It was the right to remain segregated and to keep slavery alive. That's the tradition that I'm a part of, which I praise God, there's been grand repentance and there had been some movement towards sort of restoration. However, the studies are showing that a lot of that was undone in the last 4 years, that there's been an exodus. Now we're worshiping again in segregated settings, that our churches are becoming more of whatever the color we were before we started working towards this. This is near to my heart because this is who God is. God is a God of reconciliation. He's also a God that brings in peoples of all. The center of the New Testament is a ethnic breakdown between one group and another group, and that breakdown being alleviated by the cross of Christ, bringing Jews and Gentiles to worship together. This is what God does. To have God around us is what we look like. Over 11 years ago, joined a Black church where the leadership said, this is not God's vision for us because that's not the community we're serving in. We are not going to pass by all of these souls, drive through the diversity to get to segregation. We are going to pray that we can impact those around us. And I was part of a Black church that went from a Black church to a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multinational church. And that
was that in Tampa?
That was in Tampa. Yes, that's in Tampa. Church I'm a part of right now. And all I'm saying is, if you consider God's heart and who he is and the state of where things are at, I just don't think, and let me take one last thing, and I'm sorry, and I'm gonna give it to you, give it back to you guys. Along with the data that's showing these realities, right? Pastors are resigning in numbers that we've never seen before. Churches are closing in numbers we've never seen before. The research is also asking questions. Why is this happening? What are the reasons that we are finding ourselves in crisis, right? Now, I believe in the sovereignty of God. I believe that the Lord is indeed preserving his people and doing something through this kind of shakedown that will make
Interesting.
his church better on the back end.
Yeah.
I am a lover of the church with all my heart. That's why I write and why I work, and that's what I am pushing towards. But my love for the church demands that I critique where we are giving into the carnality of this world, the priorities of this world, and losing our sight on the kingdom of God. Because those reasons are why I wrote that book and why I say that we as a church, our witness, what we are known for, if we're to get to that place, then these are the kind of adjustments we have to make: the recalibrating, the rediscovery, the returning to the priorities of Scripture against anything else.
Yeah. First off, you know, you're a preacher. I've known that. I knew that you're a preacher who raps, and you know, you're one of the most gifted hip hop artist I've ever come in contact with.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I mean, truly, literally, that I've ever heard. We listen to you every day in our home, but you're a preacher who raps. What? And man, this podcast took a turn. I didn't know this is where we're going to go. and so the book is Dangerous Jesus, because you guys aren't. We're just barely like dipping our toe in the water. 35 minutes in, but like what? Here's my honest question for you is, and it's a two-part. I'm going to ask it in a general way, and then I'm going to ask it in a really provocative way. The general way is like, man, what keeps you? Because I see guys that are passionate about the topics that you're passionate about, KB, and they get bitter. They get angry. And so it's like, I don't know if you've seen like Machine Gun Preacher, that it's a movie, and I've seen it. I don't even know if I can recommend it, because I think and there's some scenes and stuff in there, so proceed with caution. But the message in there is he's you know, he has this radical conversion, he's passionate about this cause, and then his heart just gets hardened and embittered, and he you know, he goes, dare I say, too far. Now he's still doing a lot of the right things, but with the wrong heart. And sometimes, man, people, you know, you get wrapped up in these issues that you're talking about, and you're fighting a good fight, and then all of a sudden you keep going down this path, and you're just kind of an embittered person. So that's my general way of asking it. My more provocative way of asking it is, what keeps you from not liking someone like me? And by like me, I mean a middle-aged white evangelical conservative American. I mean, that is I you know, there's, I'm not trying to play the victim here at all, but I hear a lot of language out there that is like, hey, put the move the target there. And I'm like, hey, how do we keep working together to bring about God's desires in our land, rather than opposing one another? Like, as you said, the foot at the cross is level. If we come under the blood of Jesus, who has who there's neither male nor female, slave nor free man, Jew nor Gentile. If Christ has done this, how does our orthopraxy then play out?
Yeah. So I would say I have been guided by my theology in ways that I know that only in heaven I'll be able to appreciate how the truth of God has kept me safe. I cannot overstate how important theology is in the mind of every human being on this planet. I can't overstate it. That theology needs to be tested. It needs to be refined. But I need a good vision of God, a good vision of what He would have me to do. And it then tapers everything, because the truth of the matter is, brother, I believe what the Bible teaches, that there is only one race. It's the human race. And every categorization that flowed out of putting people on some sort of this spectrum, or some list of more smarter, stronger, faster, superior versus inferior, dumber, whatever. All of that all of the racial categories that we've created, they are all imaginary. They are not real. They are the working of a society that in a lot of ways has been impacted by deeply secular atheistic thinking. So that's how we got to these racial problems. That's why we are called what we are called racially to this day, not things based in science or scripture, but based in just carnality and I would say blatant disobedience to how God would have us look at each other. So as far as I'm concerned, there's not a world where I would look at you and say that you are a white evangelical conservative man, therefore I don't like you. That is completely incompatible with what reality is. All of those categories that you even identified yourself are subservient to the fact that you were made in the image of God. Since we are image bearers, right? We are given a sense of dignity, value, and purpose that cannot be impeded upon depending on what nation you hail from or who likes who and whatever racial group you'd like to, call out. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I have the same responsibility that you have, and you have the same responsibilities that I have. We are a people who are working for the kingdom. And in the kingdom, there are priorities, expectations, and requirements for you to be here. The one that I would put at the top of that list, the one in my book, Dangerous Jesus, I call it the law of laws. This is the law of all laws. And it's a two-parter. Love your God with all your heart, mind, and strength. Then Jesus says that the second is like the first, meaning you can't do the first without this second. And the second thing is love your neighbor like you love yourself, right? You cannot be loving God and not loving neighbor. Yet if you try to go love neighbor and reject God, you will end up oppressing your neighbor. Yeah. This is the foundation of Christianity. Yeah. And if there's one thing that gets me passionate above anything, is that if we are emphasizing things that, listen, all the Bible is true. Yeah. But if we miss Jesus's emphasis, right? If I can't put my foot in Jesus's footprint of what he says, these things are heavier, right? Yeah. Jesus says that to the Pharisees. You guys take your traditions, all the things that make you look good in front of other people. You come off religious. You put on great events. You all look like you. Everyone respects you as the spiritual authority of the day. Yet you don't do the heavier things of the law. Righteousness and justice. Jesus gives heavier, the word he uses, weightier, for the things that point to the law of laws. Yeah. And what I am saying is what keeps me is that I step to the table, of course, as a black man, and I like being black. It's really cool. I love it. I come from a community. I love my community. Southside Rabbi is the name of my podcast, is about hailing from the South Side. That's where I come. It's where I was shaped. I would not have my story written any other way. But the fact of the matter is who I am, like everybody else, is that I am at the core a image bearer who these identities are qualified by. And I demand wherever I go that if we're doing ministry together, if we're serving together, if I got to speak, I demand that we all submit to the revelation of God about who we are and who the church is. That's why racism is a problem. Yeah. That's why not taking care of orphans is a problem. That's why not doing mercy and giving generously and taking care of the vulnerable. That's why it's a problem. It's a problem because it doesn't gel with the character of our God and the purpose of those he has created. That's why. As long as you keep that, and there's the last thing I'll say, if you keep those things in order, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to get exhausted. But my home base, my North Star, is the heart of God and the purpose for image bearers. As long as I go there, I am kept even in the face of, and I've been through a lot. Brother, I've been to more churches than probably the average person has, will go to in a lifetime. I have had more conversations. I've had more. The things that I have seen, I cannot unsee. Okay, in the Christian music industry,
Mm.
I know where the bodies are buried in churches all around the nation, brother.
Yeah.
And my hope is not in us. It is not in our performance. It's not in how we're categorized. It is not that we will become anything else more than people who are constantly returning to the heart of God and the purpose for creation. When those two things are the center, it keeps us from falling in these pits of bitterness and anger and slander and revenge.
Yeah.
Only God can do that.
Man, preach. Preach. Drop the mic.
Amen.
Drop the mic. Why the name Dangerous Jesus?
So I went with the term Dangerous Jesus because
Title. Yeah.
the title Dangerous Jesus. I went with that because dangerous is like a double entendre. So in one respect, if you think about an athlete, you say, man, that she's a danger. She's dangerous on the soccer field, or she's dangerous, on the tennis court, or he's dangerous in the ring. He's dangerous on the court. You're typically talking about you use that language because you're talking about what they mean for the enemy or the opposing team.
Mhm.
They are a
That's good.
threat to the other side.
Yeah.
And what I'm arguing in the book is that Jesus is a threat to all the things that would threaten us. He's a threat to division. He's a threat to our sin. He's a threat to our unforgiveness. He's a threat to our bitterness. He's a threat to our worshiping our skin. He's a threat to anything that would stand in the way of the peace and shalom that God has intended for his people who are being recreated in the image of God. Jesus is a threat to the enemy.
Yeah.
And when we are on his team, victory is ours. But in the flip side, dangerous could also, mean, that you are a threat to good.
Yeah.
And Frederick Douglass, one of my American hero, one of my favorite American heroes, Frederick Douglass, maintained his faith during chattel slavery. And he said that the way he thought about it was that there is a Christianity of the land that is comfortable with worshiping right next to rampant sin, right?
Mm.
And then there's a Christianity of Christ that is pure and peaceable, that undoes the way sin works itself out into the society. And he says the Christianity of the land is a curse to man. It is not good for the world. When you try to merge Christianity with the priorities of the country or whatever it may be, you get bloodshed. But if you submit to the priorities of the kingdom, then you get this pure, peaceable Christianity that does good. And what I'm saying, and when you reimagine Jesus and you try, as Jesus says in the Beatitudes, that you are to be salt, and salt doesn't stop being salt. It's just sodium at all times.
Yeah.
But in the context of salt not becoming salt in the ancient Near East, it was when it was contaminated with other things. When you started adding, dirt and minerals or other kinds of sedatives to this salt, it became diluted. And then in the mind of the ancient Near Eastern person, that salt is not salt anymore. It's useless. And Jesus says that salt is contaminated, should be thrown out, right?
Yep.
That's what we do with the pure, peaceable Christianity of Christ when we merge it with all of these other things.
Yeah.
It kills the saltiness and it becomes useless. It becomes a danger.
Yeah.
And my book is me taking the Christianity of the land and comparing it to the Christianity of Christ. And in every chapter, in how we speak, there's a chapter on speech, how we enjoy this world. How I wish I could have written more on what does it mean to be a Christian who enjoys or what does it mean to be a Christian who enjoys their life?
Yeah,
How do
abundant
you enjoy
life.
your life to the glory of God?
Yeah.
I wrote about way that we love our neighbors. I wrote about justice. I wrote about a bunch of different topics. Every chapter is a different topic that is separating the Christianity of the land from the Christianity of Christ.
Yeah.
So good.
Bro, I love it. I love it. I know you got to go. I have a question. I think it's short. Can I ask it, or you want to punt right there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just you use the term racism, and then you said there was one race, the human race. Do you like that term, racism? I mean, I know we don't like what it stands for, what it means, the implications, but is it a suitable term?
Yes, I think it is a suitable term.
Okay.
Racism is Racism is the word that we use when the sin of partiality is being applied to skin. That's called racism.
Right.
That's good.
So when this is what James is talking about, the sin of partiality.
Sure.
You saw that with the rich. Yeah. So
James 2.
no, I think it's a helpful term as long as we define it. I know. Let me just say, I feel you. I talk about this in the book. Even the phrase "white evangelical" has been used like especially in news, like a hammer. Okay, and it doesn't represent folks well. It's oftentimes politicized. It also flattens a group of people that may not all be on the same page about things. I hear you on the issue of language, but I also think, just throwing this out there, here's an opportunity for the people of God who are supposed to be bearers of, we are the truth tellers.
Yeah.
We study Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic.
Yeah.
Okay. We will preach hours on a single verse. The people of God have an opportunity in a culture that is replete with people using imprecise language and people moving words around and making things mean things that we know they don't mean, but then we're all acting like it does. Here is our chance to be very clear, right? To define our words and say, this is what I mean when I say that, and this is what I don't mean when I say that. Here's where I find this helpful. This is where we probably need to pull back or whatever it may be. But I think this is also an opportunity for us to get real good at defining our terms so that we can have a distinct, precise language in a very imprecise and very wishy-washy culture. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Whoa, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of words and terms and people are getting the dictionary, and that's good.
I feel like
bro.
this is a helpful episode.
This is really good. I just want to make sure that you are okay before we say goodbye with the whole world not knowing who the best Christian rapper is.
Oh my God.
I think
because
it's clear.
you've got the title today, but I thought today was going to be the day you lose it, and I just want to make sure that that's you're saying, hey, I don't want to go to toe to toe with Big Nate over here.
Nate got it, man. Nate got it.
Let's go. Hey, we need to keep that clip. We got to post that. Everyone's got to see that.
You cannot say that. You cannot.
Your name is Nate. It's Nate, right?
Yeah, it's Nate. Yeah.
Well, there's already a Nate out there that's pretty big.
Yeah.
There we go.
In F.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Oh, wait, is that it?
He's
is that his
called
name?
NH. Cope, you didn't know
His name
that?
is Nate, yes.
We've talked about that on here before.
Have we really?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
I can tell Nate. NF is my homie. I can tell him if you want. If y'all want to set something up.
Yeah,
and
the
fight.
battle of the
Let's
Nates.
do it.
Right, I mean,
I will take him down fast.
No, you won't.
I wrote a song called
No.
Church Clap,
No.
and it's going to ruin his life.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Man, this was so good.
Church clap is going to ruin his life.
Yeah.
He wrote a song. Man, hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for-
Love, man.
That was
Appreciate
so
y'all for having
helpful.
Thanks for coming on and just dropping wisdom and preaching a sermon like
Yes.
no one has ever preached
Yes.
before on the podcast.
Yes, I'm so grateful.
I mean,
I'll take it.
get the podium.
Whew.
Wow.
We got to have him on a
I'll
Sunday.
take it.
I was
and-
taking notes. Man.
I love it. I love it.
Nice. Love it. Thank y'all for having me.
Man, we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. KB, thanks for being with us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.